Welcome to the Conscious Pivot Podcast with international speaker, business mentor, best-selling author of Pivot, and your host, Adam Markell. The Conscious Pivot shares the stories and wisdom of people who have successfully reinvented some area of their business and personal life. You'll gain powerful insights into how you can fully embrace new opportunities, increase your performance, and master the art and science of innovation and resilience. So please join Adam as he guides you on your conscious pivot.
Hey, everybody. Oh, my goodness. I'm so happy to be with you right now. And I'm so happy to be alive and awake in this moment, aware, which I'm going to tie back in just a second, what the word aware means and how important it is today to our Conscious Pivot podcast. But thank you all for joining us. I'm so excited to be with you. As always, doing something to elevate our consciousness. And for me, I use myself as the example because I can't really, literally put myself in other people's shoes. I just know that for me, when I'm actively working on myself and raising my vibration, opening my heart and all of that, I am a better person and I'm a happier person and I'm a more effective person. Yeah. And when I'm not doing that, when I'm not actively consciously working on me that way, well, my life it doesn't go to shit all in a minute. I mean, but it can sometimes feel like that. And, but it certainly definitely is a downhill. It just starts to decline in ways that are pretty obvious. So, we are all here now in this together. And that is truly a blessing because us taking a conscious collective breath in this moment, as we're doing right now, is special and sacred and holy. And if you needed a reminder of how holy and sacred and special it is, there are people all over this world who are taking their very last breath right now. So this moment is incredibly important, and how we use it, utilize it, is both our responsibility and our gift. So I am so blessed to be with a dear friend today, somebody I absolutely adore. Some of you guys will get to know better and will no doubt adore. And you probably already know her because she's been around in the space of personal transformation and creating awareness and helping people to create their personal awareness, but also how to spread awareness and consciousness across the globe. She is a media expert. She's had multiple radio shows running for many, many years, including the Aware Show. There's going to be a show called the Aware Channel very soon, which I'm super excited about that. But she's just such a blessing to me personally and to a lot of people. So I welcome to our Conscious Pivot podcast, Lisa Garr. Welcome, Lisa.
I feel like, there's like an audience here.
There is a big audience.
Hi, Adam.
It's a virtual audience, and we can feel them. They're applauding, they're clapping, they're driving, they're running, they're walking, they're doing all kinds of crazy stuff. Who knows what, right? We don't want to go.
That's the beauty, is that anytime, anyone watches this, it connects with them right where they are, right where they need to be, right what they need to hear. That's the beauty of what we do. Yep. Mm-hmm. It's exactly the intention I always set. I thank you, by the way, because it's an honor to be with you, my brother from another mother. I'm telling you, you're such a special person, Adam Markell. You are. You have an incredible, not only a charisma to you, but, that's my media person talking. You can't teach charisma. You own it. You have a beautiful, heartfelt, just friendship about you that is so golden. So thank you for having me here. I appreciate it.
You're making me emotional. But there is
love you. And you're
much love. There is much love between us. And thank you for that compliment. Our folks are familiar with the format, which is where I don't do a canned intro. I love it to just ask you in this moment, what are you committed to? What do you love? What's exciting about your life? What do you want people to know about you?
Wow. Last night I went to Marianne Williamson's live talk here in Los Angeles. She is on fire, but what I love about her and what I really am committed to. So I host a show called The Aware Show, right? But am I aware 100% of my day? That's kind of probably why I host it. And I was listening to Marianne talk, and I honestly think she is. I honestly think that woman is conscious 24 hours a day based on what she's up to. And I wouldn't be surprised if she actually ran for president someday. Man, having a president that just nails you on authenticity all day would be incredible. But I host the show because I get these daily opportunities to have these conversations. I'm just as challenged as anyone else. I own 2 companies, 2 full-time companies. They are both have been in existence for 20 plus years. And I am a mom, a wife. Things break down and change all day long. And it's actually been my pattern to have breakthroughs through breakdowns. It's a very unconscious pattern. Something I've been creating for a long time. Let me make sure I create a breakdown, so that I can have that breakthrough. I got to find another breakdown so I can have that breakthrough. Yeah, that is a lot of work. I'm here to tell you.
I'm writing it down because I'm going, shit, I think we just found the title for the podcast, like the name of the podcast.
So much work. Creating breakdowns so you can have breakthroughs.
Well, think about how many people right now are listening to this, not just giggling perhaps because our energy is, I think, this is contagious and everybody loves to laugh, but who else is listening to this going, holy shit, that's my life, where I get these great breakthroughs that come and the price of them is the breakdown. Okay, that's a pattern.
I did this. So let me tell you why I found this out. So I am constantly working on myself, and yes, I host shows all day long and so forth, but it's because I'm, constantly hitting up against a full-on life, like a full throttle life, right? So I had met this really, really great guy, this therapist. His name is Gary Salyer, and he does something called family constellation work. And it's a bit of traditional therapy mixed with NLP, mixed with a lot of great things. So he had me do a timeline of my life. And I went from year to year to year on this timeline. And it was like he literally mapped it out on the floor. And we put these index cards on every decade of my life that I had breakdowns. And then he had me put different color index cards on every decade of my life, or parts of my life, like specific ages, where I had breakthroughs. And it was totally clearly mapped out on that floor of every time I had the breakdown would always come first. And then I would have the breakthrough, and then the breakdown, and then I would have the breakthrough. And then I realized that I became unconsciously addicted to this pattern. Do you hear that? Unconsciously addicted to the pattern of creating. The only way I could have a breakthrough is if I crash and burn first. Why set up systems and structures before you have a crisis? Why set up patterns that are going to work? There's no reason to, right? And I think I've just had this long-term pattern of you're not going to be able to be successful unless it breaks down completely first. Yeah, I just caught this one at 50.
Yeah. It keeps you, tell me if this this feels right to you. You live in reactivity.
Yes.
And so many people, our world is living in reactivity. That's why I say, yes, you're saying this. And a lot of people are probably nodding their head right now, just with you going, yes, yeah, that's me. I'm constantly reacting.
Yes.
And some reactions are obviously more dramatic. They're more pivotal than others, right?
Yeah.
But, and those we might call breakdowns, but it's this addiction to reaction and reactivity versus what's response look like? What is responsivity?
And
look like?
The nature of this world right now, it moves so fast that things are changing all the time. So it is kind of hard to get ahead of things. I mean, systems and structures you might put into place, the technology will change, it will become obsolete, in 6 months. it is a fact, but there's got to be a way to adapt to the ever-changing predictability of technology. It's going to change, and not looking at it as a massive breakdown. And so this is so I'll just share with you really quickly about how I got started with the whole Aware show, and I'll just give you the quick Reader's Digest on this because it's really important.
Can I stop you for 1 second?
Yeah.
I want to just take you back to the process you did with that gentleman, and you laid out the cards in the decades.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Were there any other patterns or things that you picked up through that process that you want to share?
Yeah, I did. I looked back at this timeline and I looked down it from the process he does decades and moments of your life, and he goes all the way out until 90, 100 years old. And then you get to look back at your timeline from 100 years old, even from 80. It's a huge perspective shift. And that's a perspective shift. Go out to 80 years old and look back in a meditation or in a visualization, and really spend time with this. And I look back and I saw, do I want to do this for 30 more years? I'm 50. Do I want to create this level of bullshit for 30 more? No. Because then at 60, I'll have cancer. And at 65, I'll be fighting it. And then I'll look back and say, what happened to the child raising years of my life? And was that worth it? I don't want to do that. I really don't. All the relationships I'm going to destroy from continually creating that pattern, it creates emotional havoc, relationship havoc, cellular havoc. No, it's been what I've been doing.
Addicted to drama.
Yes. Busted. Giant busted sign on my forehead.
Wow.
Yeah.
Hello.
Whew.
That's like I raise my hand and go, yeah, addicted to drama. I'm getting chills. I literally have the chicken skin, and I'm getting it just thinking about all the people who are probably going, I am addicted to drama. How am I fucking addicted to drama?
I'm addicted to breakdown.
Yeah.
And look, we're passionate. We're creative people. We need that, maybe a little bit of that adrenaline rush to get us to move. We're both athletes. We need a little adrenaline to get over that wave or to get up that mountain. Yeah. So, you can't really create that propulsion unless you have resistance on the other end of it. That's what pushes things. That's what catapults things, right?
Yep.
You can't do a catapult unless it has some leverage, right, to go forward. So there's got to be a way to reframe this, Adam. There's got to be a way to reframe this.
There is.
Okay.
Can I share? Well, it's going to sound so self-serving when I say this. So I just feel like, and it's not the book, it's the concept of pivot that I think is a part of the solution is how are you scanning? How am I scanning the horizon and alert and aware, to use your beautiful word, right? To be more aware, to be more alert, so that we're not blindsided. Because there's so many signs. Let me ask you something. The breakdowns that have been in the past, and I love the way you map that out, so that you don't want to look ahead in the future and go, what will be the breakdown that I'm going to have to provide a breakthrough? Do I really need to get cancer? Is that a breakdown I need to have? Do I need to have a divorce? Do I need to have a business bust or a relationship bust or some other thing happen, just so that I can get that leverage, get that that coil and then recoil action, right. Is there another way? And I think there is. I think there's another graceful, elegant way to see change, to anticipate it, because we know it's coming, to be alert and aware, and scanning the horizon in a way that's saying, okay, happy to be guided, happy I'm not attached to this thing. I'm going to get into the core of, I'm not attached to the home I live in. even though as gorgeous as it is, as beautiful, and I know you live in a gorgeous, beautiful home, and a lot of people do, or I'm not attached to where I live, or I'm not attached to my car, or I'm not attached to so many of the things that I am protecting, that I literally, my drama, my self-created drama is always about protecting my shit, or protecting my name, my reputation, my this, my that, the always is like, protection. It's fear-based. And so therefore it's like, okay, I can't let anything penetrate or buckle it under.
Yeah.
And that makes us closed off. I think this is the connection point, is that it closes us off to the guidance, to the wisdom. And the wind, the wisdom, the God sense, the God or spirit sense might say, it's time for change. Do you remember Mary Poppins? I know, I can't even believe I'm bringing this up. Right?
Yeah.
Right? The wind changed.
Yes.
Right? And then she, as much as it was painful for her to leave that family,
yes,
and for the family to have her leave, her work was done. The wind blew, and she needed to go.
Yeah.
And you know what? Hello, that's a lesson in life for all of us, because the whole of life is a process of letting go. We're not taking any of it with us anyway. So what is it that we're prepared to let go of now? Can you let go of your fear and your attachment to things, especially physical things?
That's deep. I mean, look, all of what's out there in society is saying, you want to get a mortgage, and you want to get a home, and you want to get a loan, and you want to get a loan for this. And it just keeps us really very stuck. And that might be the American dream, is to come and you get a job and a house and a picket fence and 2.5 kids. But really every other structure is crumbling at this point. I mean, look at every structure that we have: financial structures, housing markets, religions. I mean, major catastrophic structure change is happening if you look at it as a global perspective, in terms of decades. Why are we so locked in? Why are we so locked in? And this is one of the things that I really got last night. If we don't have a deep why, a value attached to it, like, I'd like to stay in my house, but not because it's a pretty structure and has, white frames around the windows. It's because there's really close neighbors down the street that my daughter gets to go back and forth to and experience freedom. There's a community of kids that go to the school down the street, that they get together at night and they're good kids. There's a room in my house where I can have events like there's reasons why this is a good spot, and we like it here. And if it's not going to happen, then we got to, figure that out too. But I think loosening our attachments to structure, I mean, this is an intense conversation, but it's not easy. You chase that American dream, and you chase that thing, and you chase that, and then you realize, whoa, this wasn't maybe all I needed. You don't know. But the bottom line is value. Look at the people that had this devastating, hurricanes take apart their houses, their homes, everything, decimate entire islands. They got out with their family. And that's what they have right now. Earthquakes. If you are able to get out with your family, you have your family, your loved ones. Things are just things. They're stuff. Yeah. It's a lot. I mean, we've gone after that. Remember the old days where you would see the stage presentations with get the boat, get the yacht, get the car, have the American dream. It's not really about it. It's really just about this connection and family.
Yeah. And often it takes catastrophe. So when you talk about the theme of breakdown to breakthrough, why is it that it takes catastrophes for people to have that truth show up for them, that bona fide truth that, my shit is underwater, or it's burned up, or whatever. It got swallowed up in a crevasse. And yet the only thing I care about is that my My kids got out, my husband, my wife, my dogs, my cats, whatever. But the things that I love, the beings, these living beings, are the things I care about most. And yeah, it's interesting that oftentimes those are the greatest teachers, these breakdowns.
Well, let's talk about it in terms of business, a business context. So there was a time in the internet marketing space that we all had these huge staffs and big, huge back-end development programs and teams and so forth. And I think it was needed at the time. It was definitely needed at the time. But it goes back to the independent business owner and the entrepreneur, there are so many of us now, even if you have that side hustle or whatever it is, that the business owner needs to know what every single person's job is. They don't necessarily have to do it, but they need to know it. In case something breaks down, they can step in, find someone new, do it themselves, anticipate the breakdown, anticipate the change. And that is something that is, I think, essential as an entrepreneur. You can have a great team, but look, 2 of my team members right now are in this hurricane chain that's just hitting the, our beautiful islands. So I'm left without customer service and the back end of my website. Okay, you think I might need to know those passwords right about now?
Yeah, exactly.
And gather all of that and get it done and find someone who can help me who's maybe local and have a backup plan. It is essential as an entrepreneur to anticipate breakdowns.
Disruption.
Big learning curve for me. Yes. Yes.
To anticipate it. They live on like some of these islands, these most idyllic places. You go there for a vacation, you think you want to move there. You don't ever want to leave. This is paradise.
Yes.
And yet we know just Mother Nature just reminds us that the winds of change come and the seas rear up. And now you're in a place like St. Martin or St. Bartholomew. It's this idyllic, most incredible. And man, when 170 mile an hour winds and waves start pushing through, there's no place on earth you'd rather be, like that you'd least want to be than there.
Well, we have that too. I mean, we live in California. We live on massive fault lines. And at any moment, anything can be taken out from underneath you. At any moment. So how do we anticipate the breakdowns? How do we do that? And how do we come up with them as reframing them? So here's number 1 for me is my thoughts. So the first thought and the first words that come out of my mouth have to be to inspire and motivate myself. I cannot go into devastation, destruction, collapse. I've got to go into that default pattern. My default pattern has got to become, you've got this. We've got this. We've been here before. We've risen out of the ashes before. We've got this. And just start to look for the opportunities, because I have this little quote here by my mentor, Wayne Dyer. It says, if you believe it will work out, you'll see the opportunities. If you believe it won't, you'll see the obstacles. I love this because, I mean, it's like right here, I have a little vision board altar next to my desk. And that is true. You've got to be able to see the opportunities first. Just the obstacles are there. They're glaring at you. But it's the opportunities within the obstacles. And that's the opportunity for change. That's the meat of the pivot. That's the grit of the pivot. Is, okay, pivot's happening. Where is a little sliver in there that there's an opportunity, and how can you widen that and go in it? Because it's going to happen. Pivots are going to happen.
Yeah, we call that the frame. How do you frame the situation? And so, like you said, if you frame it as I've got this, it's not what I want necessarily. And you get past the point of realizing, well, how did I attract this and all that kind of stuff.
How did I not see that coming?
How did I not see it coming? I'm getting blindsided. I was scanning, I was looking, I was aware. So I thought, and yet something comes anyway. And you go, okay, so now I got this. And I think that's really tangible, that as a framework. And then second, what's the creative opportunity here? What is the opportunity? Because if you say I got this, there is an opportunity. You will see it. And if you say I don't got it, and this is going to wipe me out and devastate me, then you're going to see clearly you're looking straight at the wave that's about to, knock you down.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a third piece? We have a third piece, but I would like to unpack this with you because it's beautiful.
Well, to use your wave analogy, excuse me, don't turn your back on the wave. You can't turn your back to the ocean. Almost never, because that's when you get hit and you get blindsided. So as much as we want to keep our sights set forward on the goal and keep the momentum moving forward, we've always got to look behind us and say, okay, what's happening there? Is there something I might not be seeing? Or maybe you have an accountability partner that helps you see, someone who's super detail oriented saying, did you think about this? I really think that should be a position in any corporation. Did you think about this person? The what if person. Mm-hmm. There's what if personalities, right? What if this happens? What if they do it this way? Well, what if someone hacks the system? Well, what if this? Just to be able to look into things that are going to potentially happen.
Mm-hmm. So I love this because I want to, if possible, plus it. I don't know that I can plus it, but I want to try. But the thing I'm hearing is that you're not in avoidance. I think there's a lot of tendency when we talk about habits and why it is that certain things repeat in our lives, like these breakdown and breakthrough, sort of cycle. One of those things that repeat it, or one of the causes, I think, is the avoidance, that people avoid a lot of the things where there's been signs before it became a tidal wave. There were signs earlier that they avoided. And then the tidal wave shows up, and then they do the ostrich thing, right? To bury their head in the sand and try to avoid.
The signs. That's your next book.
Oh, man.
The signs that the pivot is coming. Every one of us can tell you the signs.
You may have just given me the title.
I did.
To the sequel.
The signs that the pivot is coming.
Holy smokes.
We all can tell you what the signs were. We can all tell you that.
Everybody knows it, right? Oh, man. They were all there. It was the writing on the wall. It was right there.
It was all there. So-and-so told me that was going to happen. I didn't listen. The signs, hindsight is 20/20. There is a reason for that phrase because the signs are always there. We just don't, and sometimes can't pay attention to them. Sometimes I'm just in such full throttle mode that I can't pay attention to that sign. Yeah, it's there. Okay, it's glaring, but I'm busy. And that's also, you have to, maybe there's a variation on the signs. Here's a level 10 sign. You really need to look at this one. This is a level 1 sign.
Well, This is about awareness. This is the heart of your work and your show and everything, because when you're present, when I'm present, so when we're mindful and also not in our minds. So I love mindfulness, and yet I think I want to get on a podcast or do a blog about this concept of mindfulness and how it's really, really catching on. So I don't want to stop the momentum in corporate America and everywhere else that mindfulness training is happening, because good on you, right? And at the same time, this is about getting out of your mind, right? It's about creating space and quiet and stillness. Yeah. So you can actually hear, see, be guided, that there are the signs. Yeah.
There are the signs. Yeah. How I created the Aware Show was out of a brain injury. I had an accident, mountain biking accident, and I fell off my bike in the middle of a race, and I passed out at the end of this really, really long, brutal, very hot race. And right before, on the top of a mountain before the finish line, I must have passed out on the bike, hit my head, cracked my helmet in several places, wound up in a helicopter being lifted out of the scene, not knowing the severity of the damage I had done to my brain. Took me a long time to rebuild my brain. It took me better part of maybe a year to year and a half to actually discover which part had been damaged, do the neurofeedback exercises to rebuild the right prefrontal cortex, literally neural bridge by neural bridge. I rebuilt that sucker. And it's a really amazing protocol and technique that you can actually rebuild parts of your brain that has been damaged. And so I wanted to tell the world about that. Like, I just did this thing that is so cool. Can I talk to my neurologist, and can I talk to my neurofeedback specialist and my acupuncturist and my intuition teacher, and can I tell the world about this? And so I found my way through to a radio show. It was a station that was being sold. The drive time hosts were bailing, and I said, yes, I want to do this. I want to tell the world what I've learned, and that change is possible, and this is how. And that's how I started this 18 years ago. And now, I reach millions of people a month with the 7 different platforms I'm on, going for more, because it's my purpose. This is because I live it. I never set out to be a broadcaster. I never set out to be a host. I do this because every single day I am learning, every day. And I started off by saying I am so not aware. I try every day. That's why I host a damn show with a name on it, is because awareness is something that I strive for and get moments of and space for. But I need this every single day. Every day.
Amen, sister. I hear you.
Yeah. I mean, look, you know it.
I love how you put together that recipe. I'm just going to say what happens when these winds of change show up. And I got the 3 that I've got this. I see the opportunity, and I'm aware, not avoiding. This idea of those, to know that you've got this, to know that there's an opportunity, and to know that it's key to be aware, to be looking into things and not avoiding them or turning your back on them as though they're going to go away magically. Yeah. And that's a huge one. I mean, this is that's huge. So you're currently still pivoting, as we all are, all the time. And one of the things I know that you've got tremendous experience in is the media side. So tell us a little bit about that latest of pivots for you.
Yes. I am a bit of a story whisperer. I have for so long. When I do an interview, I don't do intros either, or 10 steps to this and all that. Although those are interesting, I look for the why. Why did you get into the body of work you got into? Why do you do what you do? As an expert, as an author, as a coach, as a whatever, why do you coach people? Why? What is it that makes you, that motivates you? Like, I have this huge why I get up every day and do this radio show. Why do people do the things they do has always been my lifelong curiosity quest. And so when I'm listening to people, I want to know, not necessarily that you did a TED Talk, which is great, but I want to know why you wanted to do what you do and why you want to change people's lives. And that for me is so much stronger than where you went to college and your bio and all that's important. But I've been coaching people on their story and where their story really takes a turn so that it can help the most people. And we have our dear friend, George Bryant, who you are in this amazing partnership with in More Love Marketing. And he has this really trigger word for him called tripwire. And I interviewed him about this because he has a passion for marketing, right? He also happens to be a 12-year veteran Marine. And in marketing, there's this very common term of a tripwire, which is a initial opt-in page or whatever that trips people into being a part of a sequence or being a part of an offer or something like that. He, as a Marine, saw his friends, which I can't even imagine, stepping on a tripwire and knowing it's the last few seconds of your life. And he lost Marines to these experiences, and he had to tell their families. And he holds that with him every single day. So he will not ever use that word, tripwire. To go a step further, he was speaking at a huge media marketing conference where the guys that created tripwire campaigns were in the audience, and he told them to never use that term again. Now, this is their brand, but he went there to tell them that because of what he feels. Now, I would trust George with marketing more based on that story, because he, exactly what the name of the company is, More Love Marketing. He and you come from a perspective of love from marketing rather than open rates and click-throughs and conversions and IPCs and all of those terms. It's all based on, I mean, this is a part of it, but it's based on that story of George's of never wanting to use marketing to trick people again. Get it? That is so much more powerful. And it's just an example of how story can give you credibility that you can never get with a bio, a resume, a 10-step process, or even as an author.
And people aren't great at telling their stories often, right?
No, and it ties back to that timeline. If you look back, and I have this process that I take people through of looking back of childhood, adolescence, insert hero's journey here, adulthood, insert second hero's journey here. It's like we have these pivotal moments that are our story, and we can't sometimes see it because we've lived it and we're in it and we're surviving it. But those moments have formed you into who you are. They catalyze what you do. They are what you do. And they are who you are being. And extracting those stories and reshaping them so that they can be the most impactful possible. I mean, I did this, like a 3.5 minute video with George telling that story. And it was so powerful that you would trust him forever doing marketing with you. And that is so much better than, I have this conversion rate and that IPC and da-da-da-da-da-da. Here's why I don't use this word tripwire. Yeah. And here's why you should have no one left behind in your marketing campaign. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Lisa, thank you for the work that you do. I'm just imagining the people out there that are not necessarily leveraging the value of their own life experience.
Right.
Whether it's for marketing or it's for greater connection, because the root of More Love Marketing and why we formed that company and started that work is that we really believe it's all about relationship building. So helping people to build stronger relationships is a really great benefit in the world. It's a great benefit in business. It's a great benefit in the world. So
it is. Yeah. And I can't tell you how many coaches that I've coached that they say, I get them up on stage and they say what they do. But after I pull their story out of them as to why they do what they do and what the pivotal points were in their life, then they tell me what they do. From that perspective, it is chilling how much more powerful it is. And then they don't ever have to look for clients again. The right client attracts to them because they know that person will understand them. They know that person's got their back. They see them. And then they will find the right people, and then they help the right people, and so on and so on and so on. It becomes a reciprocal effect, and everyone's helping, and we have a more conscious world.
Yeah. Oh, this is good.
Big picture stuff.
Speaking of big pictures,
yes.
Do you have some practices, conscious practices, rituals, habits? I call them rituals because sort of the things we do unconsciously can form habits, and some habits are great and some habits are not so great.
Yes.
So I think of rituals as conscious habit formation. So what are some of those things that you have, if you have things like that, to keep you smiling and knowing that you've got this?
Okay. So here's one of my breakdown rituals.
I love it.
This is my breakdown.
Is this a pre-breakdown or a post-breakdown ritual?
This is a during a breakdown ritual.
Oh,
Okay.
okay. Yeah. You'd
So,
have some experience with that. So that's
yes,
good.
I do. It is, it's a traditional technique, but it really, really works. And it's a gratitude sandwich. So if there's something that is happening that is upsetting, that is a crisis, that is breaking down in its moment, you cannot deny it and say, this isn't happening, let's just go to love, because the brain is going to say, you're lying to me, F you. So I would like to, and what I've done that has really, really, really worked for me is what it is. Okay, here's the breakdown. The minute I see the breakdown and say, oh my God, this is happening, I go right into what I'm grateful for. And I force myself to name 3 things that I am grateful for, just right then and there. And if it is the fact that I'm walking and that I have a body that can walk, or that I'm, that I have an amazing, loving child, or whatever, 3 things I'm grateful for. And what that does is it stops the chemical cascade in the brain of going towards the fight or flight, cortisol, stress release, hormonal cascade. That's just a trigger of cascades of chemicals in the brain. It interrupts the pattern of the brain chemicals and of the thought process, and you immediately start to go towards dopamine, serotonin, solution-oriented brain chemicals. This is a very important piece. So the brain automatically starts to look for opportunities because it has a pool of serotonin. It's now got some dopamine to help itself look for some type of shiny object, and it'll start to find a solution. So there is science that tells us for every 1 negative thought, your brain needs 5 positive thoughts to counteract the chemical balance. This is a Harvard business study, to counteract the chemical balance of that negative thought. And this is something that actually works. So you have a panic, you have a crisis, you have a thing, and instead of, beating yourself up or the nearest person around you, you force yourself into 5. I start off with 3 things I'm grateful for, and then the other 2 just wind up flowing, wind up happening. And then it starts you going into the area of what's possible, what are the opportunities, what am I not seeing? I've got this. What was the other thing that you said? Okay, that I said, I've got this. What are the opportunities?
And what am I aware of? What am I willing to look at so that I'm not avoiding, right?
Yes. And it's a really, really good practice.
That's amazing. I mean, I love the simplicity of that.
That
people can really take away that for every negative thought, which could produce cortisol, which we know it ages you, it stresses you, it's a precursor to cancers and all kinds of things. So to stop that fight or flight response, 5 positive thoughts or 5 gratitudes even will help to balance it out. And then in that pool, like you said, that serotonin pool, and in that pool, you'll see more opportunities. You'll see those shiny objects, the thing that, again, the dopamine response, which only helps you to then be in a place where you're not driven by the emotion or driven by the downward spiral of emotion, which only takes you, continues to spiral like a death spiral downward. So to stop that is essential, because it only ever ends up landing you in a ditch, which is a very familiar ditch that they know what that's like. And that ditch can last an hour or a week or a month or a year. I mean, it can really take you out for a length of time. So to arrest it early is what I'm hearing you say. And that's super important.
And then, I mean, even if it's just love, just start repeating that to yourself. It starts to change the brain pattern. And then you can get into the other things that you're grateful for. I did this yesterday. I stopped what I was doing, which I was in the middle of something huge, to go pick up my daughter, which is fine, which is great. I get there. She's in an 1.5-hour soccer practice that we miscommunicated, right? School's a half an hour away. All of a sudden I'm there for an 1.5 hours, and then it's another half an hour home. and now I'm late, and okay, all this stuff happened. So it's rather than getting her in the car and saying, how come you didn't tell me about this? I had this, this, and this. All that's going to do is make her feel bad and make her wrong. And why would I do that? It was a mistake. It was a miscommunication. So I walked around the campus and I'm like, love, 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 love. And I literally did that to myself. And I'm walking and I'm walking and I'm like, all right, 5 things you're grateful for. Rattled off the 5 things. Turned that whole moment into something that, I sat there, watched her practice, and, got through some things that I needed to do, rechanged my evening so I could get where I needed to on time. That's a simple example, but why would I want to get my relationship, that beautiful person, in the car and be upset? No.
Not consciously, you wouldn't want to.
Right.
Yeah.
No, we do this to our loved ones, our spouses, our children, our team. Yeah.
Yeah. Cause that's true. We often, when we get into a negative space or place, whatever, we drag people. We dragged them down. I was a lifeguard for many years, and George and I connected at a level of that story of not leaving people behind or leaving them, in their state of drowningness and not be of assistance. And it's so important that we not also create double drownings, that we not, because you recognize that when we're in a bad place, we can latch on, we can be a negative influence on other people. So it's not even just what we do to ourselves, but who else are we impacting? In that case, you would have impacted your daughter, and that was just unnecessary. So whether it took you walking around and saying love, 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 love for 15 minutes or whatever, it stopped you from infecting her as well as infecting yourself.
Right.
And that's a really simple ritual. And I think that's a huge takeaway from this, because we all do it.
It's simple, but I like practical. I'm all about the practical, and my radio shows are always bringing everything back to practicality, because we're all busy people. We all do multiple things. And what can help you in that moment when you're freaking out is what I love. So I hope that helps.
Oh my goodness. Beautiful. Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank
How can
you.
people find out more about you, want to listen to your radio broadcasts, et cetera? Just give us a website or something where people can go to.
So you can go to theawareshow.com/media. theawareshow.com/media. And everything's up there for you. My website is theawareshow.com. If you go to all these different shows that I do, you can listen to some shows on there as well. And if you go to the /media, it tells you about my media mentoring program, which is really helping a lot of people.
Yes. Get your story. How is it that you really utilize that story for all it's worth? And both in business and in personal.
It's story and strategy and service. There's 3 parts to it, because once you find your story, you've got to be able to get it into the media, which I'm an expert at, because I receive thousands of pitches a week. And then how you can be of service with that story. So there's a lot of parts to it.
That's so cool. Yeah. Way cool. All right. So theawareshow.com/media.
Yes, sir.
Beautiful. Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show. And thank you all, everyone, for tuning in, listening, and for subscribing. Also, love to refer you back as well to this pivot community. The Conscious Pivot community shows up every day in so many beautiful ways at Start My Pivot. The Start My Pivot community on Facebook. You can get it at pivotfb.com. Couple of quick reminders as well. Our beautiful program, the Incubator, the Pivot Incubator, is in launch mode, which is so exciting. So you guys know where to get that, pivotincubator.com. And lastly, and most importantly, this topic that Lisa and I have been unpacking today is really, how it is that we are able to anticipate change, utilize change, and be resilient. Bounce back in the face of change. And so the one additional thing that I want to plus Lisa's recipe with is the way I'd love to end the session today. So the framework again was, I've got this. That's number one. I'm open to seeing the opportunity. Number 2. And 3rd, I'm not turning my back in avoidance of what I don't want to see. Yeah. And that's just magnificent.
Big one.
Yeah, it's a big one.
Being aware.
And the one that I would add to it is that we take care of ourselves, because to be resilient, to be able to coil and uncoil and even bounce back further and farther, which is something, it's a pivot skill. You've done it elegantly your whole life. I've seen it in my own life experience, and at the time it doesn't necessarily feel great, but later on you go, wow, look at how that breakthrough did turn into, or that breakdown did turn into a major growth opportunity and moment. And what I've learned is that we do have to be resilient, and that's and the greatest resilience to me comes from taking care of yourself. And my greater goal in my work, my why, and you talked about the why.
Yeah.
My why in our company, our why is about helping people to find their peace, and that peace comes through something really fundamental that I think a lot of people need help with, which is how to love themselves, and really truly love themselves. But it's a big thing. Yeah. And there aren't a lot of role models in our lives, or a lot of really, there's not a one recipe to get there kind of thing. So the one little thing, the baby step that I recommend for everybody listening and watching right now, is that you take care of yourself. Self-care leads to self-love, which leads to self-trust, and trust in you, yourself, and in the universe. And this is the process of actualizing ourselves and ultimately experiencing inner peace. So self-care today, what's that one act of self-care that you can give yourself? And for me, in this moment, it is to declare that I love my life. In this moment, to mean it. So again, when you guys wake up tomorrow, and that's what I wish, that you wake up, that you're a little more aware and conscious when you wake up, and that physically you get to wake up knowing that there are people who will not wake up tomorrow morning. That when you wake up, you have something to be grateful for right then and there. You don't even have to think too hard about it. And then that you declare, I love my life. I love my life. I love my life. So with that, I want to say goodbye, au revoir, adios. Any other beautiful ways to express? We'll see you soon. Lisa, thank you so much for being on the show today.
Thank you so much for our time together and sharing that with everyone else. Thanks, Adam.
Yes. Bye, everybody. Ciao for now.
Bye.
Thanks for listening, everyone. We hope you now have the tools and greater insights to navigate your own pivot. Help us inspire others by sharing this episode and leaving your comments over at adammarkel.com/podcasts. For more tips, strategies, and support as you consciously pivot into a new business and lifestyle you love, join our Pivot community on Facebook at pivotfb.com.